warm thank you for the organization and being able to tell the story of Proyecto Roble here. It's a great honor to be here and given this international platform, so thank you for that. As indicated, my name is Huip van Zel from the office Équipe, based in Amsterdam. I run this office for architecture and urban design together with my wife, who happens to be an architect as well, but is also an urban designer. And having said that, we are working through all skills, so we do projects in building design, interior design to the smallest detail, but also landscape and urban design. Now the nice thing about Proyecto Roble is that all these skills are present in this building. And of course, we have to meet the client as well, because it's not an ordinary office, for instance, for upper class business people. This is an office for a landscaping firm. So these are people that are working with nature, landscapers and gardeners every day. So they're literally standing with their feet in the soil every day. So even long before the word sustainability became a hype, they were already having great care for the environment. Now, one other great good of this project is the fact that we were giving a lot of time from the client in order to investigate and research a lot of different possibilities together with him and together with the contractors. And he was telling us the story of the oak. That's why it's called Proyecto Roble. That his father told him a long time ago, and his father is the founder of the company, and he was always referring to the oak when he was referring to a good project or a good company, because it should grow slowly and steady to be able to become a very strong and wise tree. And now, in his turn, the client is telling the same story to his nieces that are living in Barcelona, so that's why the Spanish connection comes in. And he's referring to the project of the oak, Proyecto Roble, to them as well. And it's not given to have a lot of time in many projects. So the question was, how do we make this ideal workspace for our employees over here? Well, first of all, it should be an inspiring place. You want to inspire the employees, but also the clients and other visitors that come there. It has to be a healthy building, comfortable. But even better, we wanted to place to educate people, to educate the next generation of gardeners. Or even better, have cross-pollination between interdisciplinary sections. So it shouldn't only be a flagship for this company itself. It would be even better if we succeeded in making a key project on sustainable building and environmental design. So here we were faced with a great bunch of high ambitions, but of course we also had a piece of white paper. So where to start? So you have to ask yourself the question, what is sustainability? And everybody's using that word. So when you start doing your research in the books and on the internet, you will fast stumble over all the principles of people, planet, and profit. And everybody's got their own explanation. But we were also afraid that we would become copycats, and in the end you will talk peanuts, and you will ending up having an empty shell project because you don't know in the content what you're talking about. And of course you want to know the content of the shell. Or you even want to know where it comes from, how to cherish the ground that it's growing in. So do your homework and make your own decisions is the main message of this project, I think. So we've chosen our own themes to focus on, which are feel good, conscious building, and working together. Now when you look at feel good, we were also able to make the garden design here together with the company. And we were thrilled to see that in garden design, they already are working with themes like the healing environment, far more than in building design. So we were able to take a close look at the philosophy of environmental psychology. So in the middle, of course, there's a human being, and we see, we hear, we feel, we taste. And some things in the first circle you can identify, you can point out, they are very clear. But there are a lot of things you have to think about as a designer that are not so clear to the end user, but do have a big effect on the experience. And then there's this other thing that you don't see a lot in architecture. You should count the factor of time in it, because things are changing. We have the day and night cycle, but we also have the different seasons. You don't want to rule them out. You want to make it. You want to make them to make it able to feel them in the building as well. So when we're looking at the different themes in the building design, There also are themes that are closer in the experience to the user, but also all the other themes that are obviously they look to seem more far away from the user. They have a great impact when you make your decisions as a technician or as a designer. Even the way that we cooperate together in realizing a building is from great influence on the experience. Now, conscious building, in the picture here you see, for example, cross-laminated wood construction connected with as minimal as possible steel. And the way of looking at the structure to minimize the amount of material that you use, to be able to demount it after several years and to be able to get it back into a biological or even technical cycle is really the way to look at all decisions you make on every material. So, of course, you hear my affection for the cradle-to-cradle philosophy, and I'm really a big fan, but I'm also realistic, and you should understand that we are only in the first or the second step becoming the ultimate cradle-to-cradle society or world. So instead of lean back and relax and just look at what other people are doing and making choices for a little bit less bad materials, a little bit more efficient processes, we think as designers, together with the contractors, you should try to give an impulse to innovation. You should try to think out of the box and look for new solutions in order to make that next step towards the ultimate cradle-to-cradle society. So that really was a focus for us during the whole process of engineering. And that also means that you should use another way of working together. Here in a traditional tender, as I know it in the Netherlands, we are working with the main contractor. He's forming sort of a shield in between you and the design team and the client towards the subcontractors. But the knowledge is with the subcontractors. And we want to use this knowledge. And the worst thing in this case is that they don't even communicate with themselves. So we want to put them at one table and not call them subcontractors but co-makers. And we want to give them inside information of everybody's business in order to learn and to get to a better integrated process and design. And we also want to give them the opportunity to get feedback from all the advisors that we normally use in a design process in order to make better choices in the engineering of the building and get to the end contract before realizing it. This also means they should be able to get rid of the strong demarcations between the different disciplines. So this could mean that you get a little bit less or a little bit more of the piece of the pie in the end in order to get a better building. So instead of a big barrier between the design discipline and the contractors, we are looking for a shared responsibility in the end. And the gain for them is not only a financial gain, but also a gain in gaining knowledge and giving them a platform for possible innovation, which is a great good, especially in times of crisis like now. So instead of making them think after the signature is put under a contract, and every discussion gives a lot of negative energy on the building side, you want to pull all the discussions in front so that you know from each other when they get the signature under the contract what we are going to build. And we get a positive flow of energy on the building side. And this is so important. You cannot really quantify it, but how the hell should we make a feel-good building if we don't have a feel-good process together? It's so important to work with people who are dedicated to the job and bring love to the building site. So that's the way we like to work with the craftsmanship in the contractors. So together we broke all the themes down in more technical themes in terms of design issues. We looked at all different possibilities and documented them to make it able to make the best choice together. Also, you have to be aware of the context. Now, this is more or less the physical context in the rural south of the Netherlands. This is an historical, valuable agrarian context. It's triangled in between a highway, a railway, and an entranceway to a very big industrial area in the city of Tilburg. And that's the only area where you really see the building. So we wanted to give it a sort of a sign, a billboard effect over there. And you have to be aware of the social and traditional context of the family firm, which is founded in 1964 by Walter and his wife Annie van Helvoort. And it means that during 50 years there are a lot of traditions and a way of them looking at the world. And we want to make all the choices with this knowledge in our head. So obviously it looks like an agrarian building, and it's quite a simple section, but very clever at the same time. So the high sun in the summer, there's a small cantilever to prevent the warmth to get in, and we use natural shading in the form of hop plants that are growing very fast. And we have a lot of, I think about 300 square meters photovoltaic cells on the roof. And when you look good to the roof, you see that it's not mounted on top of the roof. Now we got rid of a very big bunch of the construction, and we made the PV cells, the cladding itself. So also there we were looking for a very smart way to introduce the different disciplines together. Now, the lower sun in the winter is not prevented to get in, so it can warm the building. And we have a reflecting pool to make it able to reflect the light as far as possible into the building. We wanted to use a lot of daylight and as minimal as possible natural light, artificial light. So to do so, we've chosen to make a lot of glass on the northern facade. Now every calculation tool in sustainable design tells you do not make a lot of glass in the northern facade. But also here, make your own choices. If you want to work with a lot of daylight, just make this choice and balance it in the rest of your design. So there's a lot of skylights as well, even in the toilets. And there's a shed roof, and you see the reflection of the water in the ceiling as well. And what is nice to point out, the lights are indicated on daylight, so they only go on when it's very dark, when it's getting dark. And the armature is made from raw aluminium, so it's not finished. To make it able in 50 or 80 years, when you want to reuse it, without having any pollution in the material itself. The only preconditioned air we use is in the offices, and mostly in winter, and then only when it's activated by a CO2 guided system. And the ventilation is natural, and also the roof shape helps to get the natural ventilation started. We introduced a clay oven to make it able to burn the waste, the trimming waste that the people brought back from their own business. And this also meant that we could make a far smaller heat pump. So in the end, it was more cheap with a clay stove than without. And it's also a social element because it's at the heart of the building. Of course, it's warm, and this is the place where everybody is gathering. And then we come to the green roof, and using the water or retain the water on your own ground. And we also projected in the preliminary design a constructed wetland on the ground floor in the reflecting pool. Well, this was a huge investment, 2 different investments. So when we went to talk about it in the building team, the water guy said, well, if I can get rid of the urine, I can make a far more smaller constructed wetland to minimize the amount of money involved. And then the gardener told him, well, if we separate the urine, I can use it because when you crystallize the urine, you get struvite, and it's a very worthy component in the fertilizer of the ground, so we can use it in our own business. And then we're back in the history of Tilburg again, which is a textile industry city, where the employees early in the morning brought a pitch full of pee of all the family in order to bleach the wool that was used and made in the textile industry. So still the nickname of the people in the city of Tilburg is the pee in the pitches. And so we're really using the urine of the employees right now. So back to the green roof again. Now we had a far smaller constructed wetland, and then we saw, okay, the volume of the constructed wetland is almost the same volume as we are using in the green roof. The only difference is the proportion, because the constructed wetland is approximately 1.2 meters high, and the green roof is only 8 centimeters high, but much larger in surface. So they made some mock-ups and a lot of research, and in the end, they made the very first constructed wetland on a sloped roof in only 8 centimeters of substrate, which is a real innovation. You could use it in a very condensed urban situation as well. Now, the same philosophy used in the interior design, where everything is bespoke and tailor-made. For instance, everything looks like wood, but in fact there is also a board that is made of compressed material from agricultural waste. When you look at the building, was an existing building. Then this is the greenhouse, which is mainly a very large hallway. And when you enter the building, there is a very smooth transition between inside and outside. There are elements in the greenhouse in order to separate the front, which is very busy, from a quiet back. And there's a second entrance for the employees that work outside and come in with dirty boots. And they have their own facilities as well, with a light from above, here in the shower, that's functioning as a lantern in between two sanitary rooms. At 1, there is the reception, 2 is the clay stove, you already saw, and 3 is the planter, where you see clay plasterwork and the cradle-to-cradle tile. And the wood that you see is the only wood that came from overseas, from the Greenpeace Good Wood Guide. This is old rubber wood from old rubber trees. When they don't deliver any rubber anymore, they used to burn down the trees. But now we use it for furniture. And all the rest of the wood is from Europe. And in the back, 4 is the sample table you already saw on the former photograph. Now this is the size in the middle of the canteen in daylight, but we can expand up to 80 people, making a multifunctional hallway. And this is one of the most important office spaces where the project leaders work. So at 5, there's the desk, where there's a lot of communication in the morning and late in the afternoon between the indoor staff and the outdoor personnel. And for a more quiet conversation, they can go to a smaller meeting table that is behind the story cabinet. And the story cabinet is made from scrap material and rest material of the building process, so we didn't buy any new ones, and was designed rather late in the process, making it able to tie up all the loose ends, like the flat screen or the mailbox or a key box. And you can always tell the story about why to pick different materials on different occasions. Then in the middle, the storage, installation technique and reproduction room, again with light from above. Then there is the classroom, up until 20 people, with expanding possibilities to the glass house and of course to the outside world. And at last there's here the other office spaces where the designers work and also the salespeople work. Well, every specific workspace is designed specifically for the guy or girl working there. So for instance here, the salespeople that do a lot of talking and are on the phone constantly, they have an acoustic wall of sheep wool and vilt and have their own space. Now all these bespoke elements are connected with one floor plan, in one hand connected but also divided in between circulation space and workspace. And so you can tell all different stories about all different details in the building. And I think the biggest compliment for us was, after everything that was said and done in 6 years' time, the client was walking around and said, okay, it's done. I feel that it's all right. So it's all about feel good again. So to end my story with, we think that if you take a little bit more time in the beginning, it might become a fast forward, becoming a really cradle-to-cradle and sustainable society. So thank you very much, also on behalf of my lovely partner in crime. And if you ever have a project that needs special attention, then Équipe is available. Thank you. Yeah, right.